from USA Today, Anthony Fauci on contradicting Trump, combating COVID, and becoming a hero and a villain. Certainly a villain. Anybody who considered this man a hero is absolutely delusional, but they say Fauci had a complicated relationship with Trump, the sixth of 7 presidents he advised. And it wasn't that long ago I revisited one of Fauci and Cuomo's early press conferences from, I think, December 2020, when they were just making out on camera, basically, and just telling each other how amazing they both were. Absolutely despicable and delusional. I mean, the list goes on. These people are awful. But my name's Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
It would help me a lot if you were to engage with the content, and it would cost you nothing. But if you wanted to help me even more and spend some money, you would buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued, on Amazon.com. That link will be in the description.
I still think, deep down, that there's a possibility that somebody's going to kill me. So that's a possibility I wish I didn't have to think about. But
yeah, and here we are. Classic, right? It's always life and death for these people every single time. And Fauci is out here playing the victim. Oh, somebody's going to end my life because I destroyed millions of lives.
it's true. You know, it's just that there's not much I can do about it. It is what it is. I've become...
Bro, you did enough, right? Oh, there's nothing I can do. For years, people looked to you for guidance to keep themselves safe from, the scariest virus in all of humanity. And you were quite literally making things up. I knew it at the time. It took you 3 or 4 years later to admit that it was all completely made up and there was no science behind it, right? Remember, it's not, this mask might not offer the quote unquote perfect protection.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
Fast forward 6 or 8 months, it only makes common sense to wear 2.
So if you have a physical covering with one layer, you put another layer on, it just makes common sense that it likely would be more effective. And that's the reason why you see people either double masking or doing a version of an N95.
Then remember, there was a clip that went viral a couple years ago of Fauci and I think it was the mayor of DC or something, door knocking, trying to get people to obey and capitulate to their agenda. And this guy says, "No, I don't trust you, bro. Get the hell out of here."
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu then, right?
And
Basically.
not
It's
like
much
the common
more
flu.
serious than the flu. though.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually, too.
You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all given that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, it's something else going on with that. Something else going on.
It is something going on.
There's
With
something
it.
else
You're
going
right.
on
But
with
I'm glad millions of people like me and most everybody here didn't get an incentive. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city.
Well,
but I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay, because my incentive, y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
And now he wants you to believe that he is the victim, even though he probably should have retired 2 decades ago. You're well past the expiration date, collecting millions of dollars and pretending that you are the victim of people who are, they're extremists. They just didn't buy what I was selling them, so I'm going to label them an extremist. I can't even look at this guy, bro. He ruined millions of lives, mine included.
The target of people with extremist views. When I came to the NIH...
Wait. The target of people with extremist views. Can you extrapolate on that a little bit more? Or are they being deemed extremists for simply not obeying what you're telling them?
More than a half a century ago, just the thought of that makes you kind of shudder that it was 54 years ago, that it just...
Exactly. And you should have retired in the year 2000 when you were 60 years old.
By pure happenstance of the circumstances, that my career has been bookended by two of the most important infectious disease outbreaks in recorded history.
Oh, yeah, that's just pure happenstance. That your career has been bookended by two of the most important viruses or whatever. Is that really what it was? It was important. It was just by chance. It had nothing to do with you.
I mean, if you think about that, HIV and COVID, one of the several unfortunate aspects of the outbreak was that it occurred at a time of profound divisiveness in our society.
And that was likely on purpose. It was meant to drive a wedge between people, real divide and conquer sort of stuff. You know, everybody was, there was a point in time where obviously, Governor Grab-ass Andy Cuomo said that wearing a mask was about respect, even though I thought it was about health and safety. And he was quite clearly trying to turn the idea of somebody not wearing a mask into the new MAGA hat, right? We all remember there was a point in time when you could literally be assaulted in New York for wearing a red hat. And he wanted for anybody not wearing a mask to be subject to that same sort of extremism. But Fauci wants you to believe that the extremists are the people who don't believe him.
And there was an inordinate amount of non-productive gotcha. This side is out against this side. So you have criticisms that are not productive. You have people who are getting vaccinated or not based on political ideology. They're wearing a mask or not based on political ideology.
Wait. So, okay. I don't think that was true. You turned it into a political thing. And so basically what he's saying is, if there's anybody who didn't blindly obey me, we know where they stand politically. That's what he's saying. Because you're the one that turned it into a political thing, and it certainly didn't have to be that way.
If you throw that into the mix of the fact that we really do have a moving target that's difficult to explain, I think that's the reason why we didn't do it. It didn't turn out optimally.
Yeah, because you were a scumbag and you were completely politically driven, and the whole thing was it was a worldwide takeover. But as far as Fauci is concerned, it was all about taking down Orange Man. And maybe I missed this, but why did it go from 0 to 100? Right? It was don't leave your house, wear a mask, and then you have to get the pharmaceutical. It was never, again, somebody point this out to me if I missed it, but there was never a point where, hey, we created this pharmaceutical, we think it works. If you're worried about the virus, you should go ahead and get it. It went straight from, they were pretending like, 60 and over, 40 and over, 30 and over, like everybody was going to rush to the door. When that didn't happen, it immediately went to, here's a donut, here's a cheeseburger, here's a college scholarship. There was never a point where it's like, hey, it's here if you want it. It just went straight from those incentives. People still didn't want it, and then you had to do it or you couldn't get a job, right? Where was the middle ground? Perhaps I missed it, obviously. But this guy wants you to know that after years of him pretending that he was the smartest, the smartest man in the room, the best thing since sliced bread, all of that, right? You were so smart that you're now worried about your safety because of the people with extreme views, right? Or is it just that somebody wasn't ready, willing, and able to drop to their knees and capitulate to whatever the hell you were pushing on them? This is absolutely despicable. And they want to pretend like it's not a political thing when it absolutely is political. And the idea that somebody has their own their personal thoughts in their head that may not align with yours is enough to let you know they are not on the same page with you politically. Because just asking a question is enough to make anybody on the weirdo authoritarian left freak out and realize that somebody is not going to blindly buy this.
That's for sure. From a public health standpoint, the impact and the pain and suffering associated with 1.2 million deaths and the disruption of society.
Every time it's always death. Every single thing. Don't let your kid cut his junk off. It's life and death. If you drive a truck, it's life and death. You didn't obey the orders that I am now admitting were completely arbitrary and there was no science behind it, but it could be life and death. And I have been so manipulative and so terrible that I am now subject to death threats because, I mean, this is just ridiculous. There's so many levels to this madness. And this little guy, you could have sailed into the night. You could have enjoyed your twilight years 20 years ago, but you came back to destroy everything and carry on the will of the political regime.
Society, I mean, put the deaths in and of themselves are terrible. But then when you look at all the disruptions of people's lives, of their jobs and the school and things like that.
You did that.
It led to a very charged situation where the scientific community was trying its best to give information as it unfolded. But
no, it wasn't. The scientific community, the actual scientific, who is it? Dr. Peter McCullough? I mean, those doctors out in California, they were all banned. Are they part of the scientific community? Or is the scientific community just code word for you to say the people that we are telling what to tell you? Right? The scientific community. Give me a break. The credibility is long gone.
Since it was a moving target, there was confusion and there was some missteps in communication. I don't think it's an irreparable damage.
And that's a nice way of him saying, that's a nice way of him acknowledging that it wasn't perfect, when quite clearly it didn't take a rocket scientist to know 4 years ago that this was all completely phony.
To the faith in science, but I think it needs to go back and try and rebuild that trust.
Yeah, okay, fine. In a weird way, he is admitting that he has lost all credibility and all trust, and declaring himself the science.
Anybody who's looking at this carefully realizes that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people could recognize there's a person there, so it's easy to criticize. But they're really criticizing science because I represent science. That's dangerous. To me, that's more dangerous than the slings and the arrows that get thrown at me.
Was not working, but he was so brave and so smart, and he tried to help you so much, and some people didn't believe it, and those people are extremists, and they might be the ones trying to end his life.